Hi, everybody. Good to revive or kick off this podcast again. We have two six-star finishers with us, and I think this is a good way to revive Let's Talk Running after what has been a brief hiatus. A lot of things happening in the running circuit and in the running world. Three major marathons happened. Three world majors happened over September and October and November. Berlin, Chicago, and New York. And this time around, the numbers have gone through the roof. Berlin saw 54,000 plus finishers. Chicago also saw something which was way in excess of 50,000. And New York, the numbers are just out. It's almost breaching 55,000 runners. So there's a renewed interest now more than ever among the runners of all hues and ilks to run the world majors, and there's a sizable chunk of those runners also from India who are increasingly signing up for these world majors. So, what are the challenges in terms of logistics or training and the high that one gets from participating in these world major marathons? We thought who better than Deepa and Vikram, our two own stalwarts from the Indian running community and Bangalore running community in specific, to pick their minds on this very important subject. Let me introduce our two guests on the panel today. Uh, I have Coach Deepa Nayak with me. That's what she's called. She used to work with Akamai, a small city girl who moved to Bangalore, got into IT, and then around COVID time, eventually found her calling in fitness and decided to hang up her corporate boots and take up fitness as a full-time profession. She's a coach with she's a coach with Runners 360 and also with the ASIC Run Club. Deepa, always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Kartik. Thank you so much, Geeks on Feet, Arvind, and everybody, to give me this opportunity. And it's always a pleasure, to be interviewed with a runner like Vikram BJ.
Wonderful, wonderful, and thank you for making my job easier. So, on the other, now that we've had the Tyson rematch last Saturday, let me put it in that way. On the other end of the ring, we have the heavyweight, well, not really heavyweight, but lightweight champion Vikram BJ, who's as diminutive as Deepa, but is filled with just about the same amount of energy like Deepa. Vikram basically is well, he's been in fitness for a long, long time now. He's a hybrid athlete, as I prefer to call him. But before that, he was a skater and told he's been skating from 1998 basically, and then took up to marathon running. He also flourishes in a business where he sells skating equipment, particularly for a team called the Simmons Rana team. So, Vikram, as always, a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, Kartik. Thank you, Geeks on Feet, for having me here. And thank you, Deepa, for that mention. But it's always feels really special that I'm actually being simultaneously being interviewed along with Deepa.
Of the six world majors, both of you have done, I mean, the two of you together have done four. You've done Berlin together, you've done London together, you've done Tokyo together, and finally, you guys did New York together. So, tell us a little about this journey within the journey, basically.
Uh, yeah, I mean, first of all, I have known Vikram BJ for a really long time, and of course, doing this four world majors together was not planned, but then yeah, it eventually happened, and then we are happy that we were together in this journey. So Berlin was my first world major, and then it was really pleasure having Vikram BJ. Even while traveling, and also it was great to see him doing the skating marathon also the previous day, and then him being the fastest marathoner in Berlin, and then me being the fastest marathoner in Berlin from women. So it was it was really fantastic to get to know him better there. And then after that, the journey continued in London and Tokyo and New York specifically, because for both of us it was final, and we had a lot of conversations, talks together before even we reached New York. That how are we going to do this?
There are multiple ways of getting into a world major. There is the lottery system that you mentioned about, and then there is the tour operator method. Gauri is one of the prominent tour operators from India. We will be adding. So to the audience, right? We may take some names which might sound like Greek and Latin to you. We'll make it sure to add their profiles in the show notes. So if you really, if it does pique your curiosity, you can go and check out on those people. So yeah, tour operators is the other way, and then there is also a qualification way, like in Boston. So both of you, your journeys have also been different. So Deepa, for example, has this she loves taking on challenges. Basically, she does this back to back thing, and she really loves there's something special about that, right? So Deepa, you want to tell us how you did the so you did uh, Boston and London within the space of 5 days, and then you did Chicago and New York within the space of 3 weeks. So, what is the secret behind your endurance, basically?
Yeah, so the first part was the Boston and London. It started as a joke. So when I got the confirmation for Boston, I was actually traveling to Berlin during that time. I was at the airport when I got the confirmation for Boston. And after I finished Boston, and London was around the same time in 2022. And as
Mm,
soon as the London race completed, the London lottery opened. I saw so many, Instagram posts and stories, and in fact, Vikram BJ also had posted that he has applied for lottery in London. When I saw this post, oh, okay, the registrations are open. Why? And then I told my coach, Coach Shreyas Karnad. So I told him that why not I do Boston and London back to back? But for my surprise, he said, "Yes, ma'am, let's do that. It's gonna be exciting." So I went ahead, and then, of course, lottery was not possible. I mean, I did not get through lottery, but then other friends helped me to get through TCS, and then finally it happened. And majorly, the training run was for Boston. In London, we thought, okay, we'll take it as it comes. After that adventure, I thought, okay, why not Chicago and New York together? So, so that was in the plan already. That okay, whenever I do Chicago, I'll do New York together. So, yeah. So that's how I mean. That also plan came together because I got Chicago through lottery, sorry, qualification, and I got New York through TCS once again, and it happened. No, I love those adventures, but I will not suggest anybody to do this adventure as a coach.
I'm glad, as a coach, you say that you would not really recommend anybody to embark on such adventures. Basically, I'm glad to hear that. So, Vikram, by comparison, your journey has been more staggered, if I can use that word. Was it by design, or it just happened?
See, finishing or doing world majors, I
Hmm.
think until I did Boston, I didn't even know what was a world major was.
Hmm.
So when I started, qualifying for Boston, I mean that was the only goal I had. And
Hmm.
then because of social media and people running Berlin, I found out that it is all the records are being done there. And I thought,
Hmm.
like, let me try my luck in the ballot, and I actually got the I got an entry for 2020, but due to COVID it did not happen, and I had to defer it 2022. 2021
Right.
didn't happen again for the visa restriction.
Right.
So I knew that I'm going to be running Boston and Berlin the same year. And then in Berlin, over a breakfast table, I overheard someone discussing about London, and I checked with a tour operator that London entry was possible, because getting a London entry is really difficult. I mean, it's next to impossible. I mean, yeah, that's how I did the London Marathon. And when you do three, and it's always like you have this FOMO, like when I've done three, why not the another three? One thing I had in my mind was that if I do, I would want to have like at least 3 to 4 months between each major. And it
Which
was
means
a conscious decision. And that's how was able to do two majors in a year. And I took 3 years to complete it, approximately.
brilliant, brilliant. I think that's another way of looking at it, basically, right? So it's really nice that we have all the variety over here. Just to summarize for those of you, who've been now bombarded with all these different terminologies. There are multiple ways in which you can get into these world majors, right? There is always the lottery way of getting into races, and then you have the qualification route. But again, the qualification timings vary from race to race, and there again now we are seeing a correction or a revision in terms of bringing the time down, actually. So that again is becoming a little challenging. And then the third way is through the tour operator, right? Wherein you can go with a tour operator. And then there is also the charity route, where you can basically sign up with a particular charity, raise a particular amount, and then, get an entry into the race. Most of the people who do Tokyo nowadays, opt for the charity route, actually. So, and of course, Boston in itself is unique, right? We have mostly it is through qualification. There is no lottery. There is no, if I must add, there is charity and there is tour operator, but then entry as well. But then those are extremely limited numbers. Mostly, it's the qualification route that people take. Okay, so having said that, this is I just want to pause here and kind of reiterate the timing of both of our runners, because the one thing that really strikes me, in spite of the different approaches you guys have taken, is a remarkable consistency in your timings. So Deepa, for example, did Berlin in 3 hours 18 minutes and 52 seconds, and then she went on to do Boston in 3 hours 22 minutes and 40 seconds, and then London, as we told you, 5 days later in another continent, 3 hours 23 minutes 21 seconds. Tokyo has to be her best. I think it is her PR, 3 hours 13 minutes and 11 seconds. Chicago, this October, 3 hours 15 minutes and 41 seconds. And for me, the biggest surprise, New York, within a space of 3 weeks, on those hills, 3 hours 17 minutes and 59 seconds. So that is some remarkable consistency, basically, right? Across races, across a period of time. We're not talking in 6 months or something. This is across, a three, like Vikram said, almost a 3 year window, 3 to 4 year kind of a window, probably a 3 year window that we're talking about. In a similar sense, if you look at Vikram, Tokyo, well, no, let's first look at Berlin, right? Berlin, and I want to mention this. The evening before, he skated, like Deepa said, the marathon distance, and then the next day morning he ran a 2 hour 58 minute 43 second marathon in Berlin, right? Then London happened, no, Boston happened, sorry, where he narrowly missed the sub three. So by it was 3 hours and 26 seconds, basically, right? And then he went on to do, it was London, of course, 2 hours 57 minutes and 28 seconds. And the next was Chicago. Unfortunately, he was injured at that time, but yet he went on to do that race, 3 hours 4 minutes and 1 seconds. And then came Tokyo, where he did a 2 hours 55 minutes 05 seconds, and finally he topped it all off in New York with a 2 hours 59 minutes and 26 seconds. Now that is brilliant across a 3 year period. So this is something that I really wanted to highlight about both our 6 star finishers. Relentless consistency, basically. So that kind of leads me to the next question, right? Even your training approaches are unique, if I can use that word. So for example, Deepa, we can start with you. You have this habit of doing your harder runs on flat courses. You prefer to do, you are a low mileage person who prefers running loops. So, I was talking to somebody else the other day, a runner from Delhi, Deepa, who was asking about you. And she was like, how does this woman pull off these timings with such a minimum amount of mileage and practically no hills in her training? So, you want to, shed some light on that?
Yeah, sure. Um, because what happens is every body is different. Like everybody, they are made in a different ways. They train in a different ways, and over a period of time, We will have to figure out what works for us instead of copying what others are doing. uh, Elites must be doing 150 kilometers a week, but we cannot just do that. We It will not work for us. We'll have to always figure out what works for us. So first thing in understanding what works for me is, so when I started my marathon journey, I did my first marathon in 2018. So first thing, I gave a base of 4 years, from 2014 to 2018, a good training for a 10K and a half marathon. So I did not directly jump into a marathon. So that was the first step into marathoning. And then after that, 2018, it was like a consistent training, even in COVID and everything. So I did a consistent training. And throughout that, I understood that, okay, what is working out for me? And also, many of many of you know that. So I had a, bone tumor in my right hip joint in 2017.
Oh,
So
okay.
that had created a lot of impact in my hip joint. So even after getting it removed, I feel that it is always stiff if I don't take care of it well. If I don't do a couple of exercises and stretches, it always bothers me after a certain distance or whatever. So I need to be very very careful about my body. So what mileage my body can take without damaging that is about a 50 to 60 kilometers. I know that, because beyond that, I know it's gonna injure some or the other part. So, and to top it off, what I do is, along with this low mileage, I try to do a lot of strength training, which is kind of supporting me a lot. So even behind the Boston and London back-to-back marathon, I give all the credits to my strength training. So because even then I did only 50, 55 kilometers a week, but I did a very hard strength training 3 days a week. So that is how the training approach has been helping me. That's the reason I don't do a lot of hills, because it can damage me. I will not be. I may do a couple of hill runs, but then eventually by the race day, it can damage me.
Incredible. So basically, low mileage combined with a solid strength program, and it's very interesting that you kind of make up for the hills, the lack of hill training in your training schedule with basically strength. Actually, because you're not too far away in terms of choice of route. You also run in the Lalbagh loop. I mean, you prefer to do a lot of your runs over there. But then you also love, when we talk in terms of stretch, you do the TCS 10K stretch. Now, a lot of you who would have run the TCS 10K stretch would know that it's pretty undulating and has turns and a lot of traffic if you start late. So, you're in terms of choice of, where you choose to run, you're not very different from Deepa. Maybe the place is different, but it's almost, similar. But you are not a low mileage person. You're a moderate mileage person. I mean, you wouldn't do you're not a high mileage person per se, but then you're not even a low mileage person. You're somewhere in the middle of that spectrum. So, has this approach worked for you through this journey?
Yeah, yeah. So what I also believe is people who run fast. When I'm saying, like, if all their runs are like very fast, and they come on saying that, you know what, I did 90 kilometers, I did 100 kilometers. But what I believe is the time spent on your feet. So if you're running very fast, you're actually not spending time on your feet. Whereas if you're if you divide your weekly mileage as 100%, and if you are close to running 80% of all your runs at a conversational pace or an easy pace, you're spending more time. And for me is like, I want recovery. When I'm saying recovery is like, I need to take a day or two off. So if you see, my running economy over a week would be just 3 to 4 days. And even if I'm running the fifth day, it would just be for an approach, like I want to run with the tired legs. And that run, the previous day of the quality run, if Sunday is like my long run, which is, I would want to mix and match with my marathon pace, the previous day I would want to run with my tired legs, like I would want to do a 20K.
Okay, okay, okay.
And I do strength training like about twice, not thrice, but twice.
Are you
Because
kidding
since I
me?
also do skating, I had to put in skating on those days
Okay, okay. Another
comparatively.
okay, another quick question to you, right? Um, the benefits that you accrued from skating, does it transfer to running? And this could be both in terms of strength, but also in terms of physiology, right? Do you feel that your VO2 max or your running parameters are actually enhanced by what you do in skating?
Not actually, but both are like different sports. Like skating, I don't spend as much time I spend in running. But we do a lot of off-skate plyometrics. Off-skate is nothing but without skates. So we do a lot of jumps and we do a lot of isometrics. And since you're in a skating position, which is like you have to keep your knees like in 90-degree and keep your lower back like in an aerodynamic position like cycling. But the difference between cycling and skating is that you have a saddle to hold on, but in skating you don't. So whenever I feel that my back's hurting on skating, I that time I get a recall that I actually have to strengthen my core.
Right, right,
That's a sign of saying that my core is not strong.
right. So the
So
feedback is more direct in that case,
so,
basically.
so just because you see in a person if his abs are seen, that doesn't mean that his core is strong.
Right,
Core is
right.
more than more than what is aesthetics.
Right. That's brilliant. Actually, you mentioned a couple of things, plyometrics and isometric exercises. Now, increasingly, with the running community maturing in India and for that matter across the world, right? And with increasingly, we see a lot of hybrid athletes like Vikram coming into the sport. I mean, the Matt Choi is another example I can think of. Let's just restrict Matt Choi to all the correct reasons. Let's not get into the controversy part of it. But okay, having said that, basically, I think with hybrid athletes coming in, you see a lot of runner specific strength training happening, right? Where again, runners are also now increasingly doing a lot of, they're lifting heavier now, and they're also doing a lot of plyometric, a lot of functional movements, with be it plyometrics, be it isometric. At Geeks on Feet, we make a conscious attempt to, highlight all this, actually release newsletters. So you do well to check on that stuff as well, if all this again sounds like Greek and Latin to you, basically. Okay, so I think we've kind of set the stage. Now let's warm you guys up before we get into the next stage
I
of the
want to
session.
mention one point here.
Sure. Please go ahead. Yeah, please.
So as we both spoke about our training approaches, so as I
Right.
mentioned, every body is different, right?
Yep.
So Vikram has a muscular body, uh,
Hmm.
even though he is doing only 2 days of strength training and then not lifting heavy, and
Hmm.
I doing 3 days of strength training and lifting heavy, but I
Hmm.
don't have a defined muscle or biceps like him because the body types are totally different. But we both are running at the same. Running economy is almost the same with the consistency in the numbers. So
Right. I think that's a great point. So what you're trying to say here, just to paraphrase you, what you're saying is that each body is unique in itself, right? Vikram comes with a ripped kind of a physique, whereas you come in with more like a runner kind of a physique. Now, in terms of, if we say pure, in terms of just running output, the kind of volume, well, let's not use the word volume, but the kind of training efforts you're putting in are almost similar, basically. But the output, or at least what you get to see, might be very different, actually. But then at the end of the day, both of you are still runners, basically. And that's what this community is all about. It takes all sorts of people to build this community called the running community, basically. I think that's a great point, actually. Okay, now that we have warmed up, let's get into the meat of things. This is the second section, guys. So we've divided this into three sections. We're getting into the second section where we're going to talk about the race proper, and then we're going to go back to your support systems and your coaches and whatnot, basically. So okay, for people who basically this is the section where we tackle the world majors, right? Unlike races in India, running a world major involves a lot of logistics, be it in terms of planning your travel, your visa, your stay, what you'll eat, where you'll go, vacation, whatnot. So we wanted to kind of pick on your brains on these key aspects. So one thing we can start off with is, how early do you travel to races, right? Before a race, how early do you travel, Deepa?
So I would say if it is a US race, Boston, Chicago, and New York, I would always suggest that going 1 week ahead. So for me, I traveled to Boston 1 week ahead, and for New York, I was basically there for the 3 weeks. And for Chicago, I traveled like 4 days, 5 days ahead. Uh, I think I should have traveled maybe a little more in advance.
Okay.
Yeah, for Berlin, Tokyo, and London, I would say even if you go like 4 days ahead, it is fine. I mean, if you reach by Thursday, uh, Sunday race, it is still okay because the time zone difference is not too much. So, you're able to still manage the jet lag and uh, you know, everything and race well. So, that is
All
what I
right.
suggest.
Okay, so to summarize, you're saying if it's a US race, go at least a week in advance, so you get to if there's any jet lag, residual jet lag, that you kind of gives you some time to settle, and then you're ready by the day race day comes. Whereas for the non-US races, be it the European races or the Asian races, even a 4 day window would be a good starting point,
Yes.
basically. Okay, great. Vikram, you want to add something to that?
I mean, it's the same. Like if it's US, you arrive early. Not a week maybe, but I'm okay with going there on Wednesday or Thursday. Like night I reach, on Thursday I'm going for a bib collection. Friday maybe you can do some visit or sightseeing. On Saturday you can do an easy run, or you can take an off. On Sunday you can run. Whereas Berlin are European races, because the time difference is not much. Maybe I can even go on Friday and run on Sunday, and even take a flight on Monday.
All right, perfect. Okay, so which kind of brings us to the next question, right? Where do you guys stay basically? And how do you go about that? How did you go about that in your 6 star journey?
So yeah, for me, for most of the places, I mean, I would suggest it as Airbnb because Airbnb, what happens, you can plan your food and everything really well. So you can cook your food. So wherever I stayed in the hotel, so there was, I mean, for every meal, again, we have to look where we have to go and then look for the food, and you might not get the kind of food that you were looking for, and then it might end up upsetting the stomach and all these things. It's really unfortunate before a big race. So I it is something that I always suggest, and I have done that for many of my races. But for my yeah, for New York and Berlin, I was really fortunate to have my friends over there, and then I stayed at my friend's place. Like if you have somebody staying in that city, and if you can stay at their place, that is
Interesting, and I know I kind of want to highlight this point. Both our guests are vegan and vegetarian, respectively. Deepa is a vegan, and Vikram is a vegetarian. I don't know, going to become a vegan or happy staying a vegetarian, basically. But yeah, as of today, a vegetarian. So,
Aspiring vegan.
aspiring vegan, okay. So we have a convert here. So I think it becomes even more important that you kind of choose the place where you stay more diligently, because food always might not be so easy. But yeah,
yeah.
I'll come back to that question. Before that, let me go to Vikram. Vikram, how do you manage your stay? How did you manage your stay through the 6 star journey?
I think like of boss all six majors which I've done is like almost like three are different. Like Boston, I tried to stay like in Airbnb like Deepa, but the problem what I faced, and then that made me to like plan well for my next majors. So I booked an Airbnb which was away from the start line, I mean the finish line. uh, but there, what happened? The traveling cost adds up. So your accommodation is cheaper, but you are traveling in subway or in a taxi becomes expensive. So Boston actually starts from Hopkinton. and the finish is Boylston Street. So you
Right.
go to the Boylston Street, especially you go to Boston Common to check in your bag, and then they take you in the bus to go to Hopkinton. So basically, you have to be closer to the finish line. So I
Right.
had booked Airbnb, which was away from the finish line because the connectivity is good. But what adds up is the cost of traveling as well as the time, and you're actually stressed out if you're staying far. So and my Tokyo was like good because uh, the accommodation I got, it was a hotel which was right next to a subway. So
Right.
you exit the door of the subway and you are like stone away distance to the accommodation.
Right.
And my Chicago and Berlin and London because I got an entry as well as accommodation through a tour operator. It was very close to the start and finish line.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Uh-huh.
So,
And New York was I stayed in an Airbnb, which was again close to the start and finish. I mean finish line because start again New York is from Staten Island. You have to catch a ferry.
Right. Right. Right.
yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
So here,
So,
one point
yeah.
which I
Go on.
remembered was I made a mistake in Boston because I got a suggestion that okay, stay near the start line in Hopkinton, and I went in and I booked a hotel for 2 nights in Hopkinton, and I think that was a disaster. Uh,
Uh-huh.
okay, reaching the start line was a little challenging because yeah, somehow taking the cab and everything, it was still a challenging thing. But after you finish, going back to the hotel was like horrible. So yeah, you have to travel all the way back, and I do not run with my phone, and taking the train and then going back to the hotel was it was seriously a disaster. So I would always suggest that okay, always stay closer to the finish line. You will have some option because organizers will always have a arrangement to take you to the start line, but from the finish line if you have to go to your hotel, so that's where you need most of your energy, so always stay closer to the finish line.
But in terms of the expo also, now with this increase in crowd, the expos are increasingly becoming a very crowded affair. Berlin, for example, this time, I was told there was almost 1 kilometer, queues, and I'm not kidding, guys. There were 1 kilometer queues for people to collect their bibs. I mean, we're not even talking about going around stalls and picking stuff up. This is just basic bib collection, right? So, what would be your advice in terms of visiting the expo?
Yeah, so you need to do the first half of the expo. Like if it opens on Thursday, so preferably you need to go on like 10 to 1.
Oh,
And that
okay.
is the time not see even if it opens on Thursday, you would comparatively the crowd is much lesser at the first half of the day one.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I would say that please do the if you want to go to the expo and avoid the crowd, go on the first half of the day one.
Okay. Okay. Deepa, you want to add something there?
I would also suggest the same always the first day of the expo and the first half of the expo because not many local runners would be there because all of the local runners or the so they will be traveling either on a Friday or a Saturday, so they would come on that day, and you will find only very few runners who would be arriving a little ahead of time. So the first day of the expo is always the best time to visit, and the most of the stock at the expo also will be there.
Okay.
I
Okay.
wanted to
That's
add
that's a
that.
nice point. That's
Otherwise,
a
most
nice
of the
point.
most of the sizes in the merchandise, especially the small and extra small, if it's there, will
Okay. These are the pain points that
yeah,
both our
extra small
contestants
if it's
have.
there, it's gonna be
Okay.
sold out. So you don't need to be like unhappy that if the stocks are not there. So it's always good to buy merchandise the on the day one.
Okay, brilliant. These are some really wonderful points that are coming up. So go early and go in the first half of the day to the expo. That way you get the best deal, both in terms of having to maneuver through lesser crowds, and getting the merchandise you want, and hopefully in the sizes that you want, basically.
Right.
Okay, which kind of brings me to the next question, right? The vegan slash vegetarian question. How difficult has it been? Deepa, you made a mention that you carry, food with you, basically, or at least the raw materials which allow you to cook, basically. But that notwithstanding, how difficult or easy, for that matter, has it been for you as a vegan on these travels, basically, to these world majors?
Yeah, for me, I always plan my travel very well in advance, and I always plan it precisely in terms of
Hmm.
food.
Hmm.
Because from the time I leave my home and till the time the race is over, I want to make sure that my nutrition is on point and
Hmm.
I carry each and everything which is needed. So because I don't want to be looking out for the food there, so I carry a lot of ready to eat items which are largely available in India with good quality. So I carry a lot of them. And then when I went to Berlin, so first couple of days were at a friend's place where I did not have any issues. So everything was cooked according to my taste and choices. Uh, and also when I was going around in Berlin and other part of Germany, it was in Europe. I found it is still easy to find vegan food because they have a rule of you need to have at least one vegan item in their menu in all the restaurants.
Ah, okay.
Wherever I go, it was very easy to find at least one item to eat in any of the restaurants. So Germany is that way. It is really good. But Japan was really challenging in terms of finding a vegan, for that matter, even a vegetarian food. So I had to carry everything, and then I used to always, prepare my food and then walk around with my food all the time. For US also, I mean, I don't say that it is very easy to find vegan food because you may find vegan, but then most of the things are like salads, and you don't want to end up eating salad all the time before your marathon. So it's better be prepared. If you're a vegan, then better be prepared with your food uh, wherever you travel.
Brilliant, brilliant. Vikram, I mean, the challenges are lesser, but still they are there, even for vegetarians. I would imagine in a place like Tokyo. So, how do you manage your food? Do you also carry stuff with you, and are you a great cook actually?
No, I don't know anything. I think I maybe I know what is to boil coffee and do make coffee for myself, but I don't know even that coffee would be good for a
Somebody else.
who would drink coffee every day. I've never tried that on with them. But I've
Okay.
always found and had food in an Indian restaurant, at least a meal for all six majors.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Like even in Boston, I have found Indian restaurants and I've had Indian food a couple of days before, and a day or two before, I've had you know in an Italian restaurant.
Mhm.
I've had pasta, and
Mhm.
in US like Boston, New York, and Chicago, I have had at Chipotle.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And if I don't find them, I end up having in Subway.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So you're
because
pretty much
breakfast is not
on
a
the
problem
go.
because I do get musli from India, and
Mhm.
so breakfast is not a problem, but it's just a lunch or dinner.
And you've not really encountered significant
Tokyo
difficulties
was
in.
a like Deepa said, like Tokyo was a big problem because even in a chocolate wafers, they
Mhm.
have meat
Mhm.
in it.
Oh my
So I was
God.
using
Okay.
this translator where you actually have to use your camera and it would translate it to English.
Thank God for technology.
And
Okay.
I had in Tokyo, I had couple of runners from Kolkata who checked on me even before we reached Tokyo, and they had like instant mixes, which was similar to MTR.
I see. Okay. Okay.
And they had extra food even if I wanted, even after they left, they had couple of boxes, so I was blessed to have them.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So see, that's where the
One
community
more,
comes to the help.
sorry, one more point I wanted to add is, like, I found out an app a year before, called Appy Cow.
Happy cow.
Yeah,
Happy
so
cow.
you would
Oh, okay.
find Happy Cow. You would find vegan and veg restaurants. You would find more restaurants even you don't find it in Google.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe this is also something that we will add in the show notes. Thank you guys for sharing this. I think this is going to be of a lot of importance for, a lot of Indian runners, or for that matter, runners from other countries who are vegetarians and vegans. And, I think this will really help them in their journeys, actually. Right. Okay. So this kind of, yeah. So let's move on. Um, I want to talk about your coaches before we move on to the next fun section. Um, how much? So for example, Deepa, right? Coach Shreyas is the person who coaches you, from whom you get all your training plans, and again is more of a friend and a philosopher alongside being a guide. But the interesting aspect here also is that Coach Reyes is somebody who has consciously decided not to run international races, at least for now, basically, right? He prefers racing in India. Um, how does this relationship between, and the other aspect here also is that you yourself are also a coach. So how does this relationship between a coach and a coach work? Take us through that.
Yeah. So first thing is, he's been my coach since 2019, and even before I became a full-time coach in Runners 360, so he was already my coach. So, and after that, the relationship built into a strong friendship. So, and then he has been always guiding me through these, even if he has not run any international majors. I mean, he has run a couple of international runs, but not the world majors. But he always has this, knack of understanding the courses, understanding the places, and what has to be done. Any races, so he would understand, okay, this is done in this particular season, and this is what the course is, this is what the elevation profile is, this is what the weather is going to be. So he understands everything, and then based on that, we do the training. And also considering my training limitations of the mileages and the strength, so the training is done as per that. So you won't believe, for New York, he's given me each kilometer pacing, that okay, for each kilometer this is what the pace should be.
Oh, wow. Okay. And this is something similar to what Vikram said. I mean, it's like taking the course into
Yeah,
consideration, basically.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And we have been also studying the weather also for the last 1 week, and then that's how the race has to be done. So that is how it was planned. So he gives me a lot of insight about these international races. And when I run international races, he takes a lot of pride in that. He always says that if Deepa Madam runs the world major, it's almost like we have run the world major. So he's more anxious, nervous when I have the race. There are a lot of butterflies, and then he calls me, and then he'll be like, "Okay, madam, wish you all the best. This is how it is going to be." I'm like, "Calm down." I know. So he is more nervous when I have the races. So he's almost like he's there. He's there at the start line. He's there throughout the race, and I also feel like, okay, he's there at the finish line to celebrate with me. So that is how the this relationship of coach and coachee has built throughout. And even if I'm a coach and coaching like 120 runners in Runners 360, how it works is, I don't want to spend my energy and then pick my brains for my plan. So I always because what happens is, when I make my own plan, I can there are two possibilities. I can push too much, or I may not push at all. So there could be these two possibilities. I can hold back a lot, or I can push too much or overtrain. So that's the reason what I tell him is, okay, you understand my body better, that what works for me. So you make the plan. So whatever the plan that you give, you the distances, spaces, everything, okay, I will follow. And when he gives me strength training, I just close my eyes and do all the workouts, whatever he says. So it is the trust, that matters a lot. So I just have the complete trust in his process, and then I'm completely surrendered to that process, and then it is definitely working out for me.
Brilliant. And as an add on question before I move to Vikram, now that you've done the 6 stars, or rather the six world majors and gained your 6 star, and you yourself are a coach, you said you coach about 120 people. Um, will it be easier for you? I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of your mentees who run world majors or are planning to run world majors. I'm sure it must be easier for you now to craft plans for them, taking into consideration the fact that you've run these six and you know what the terrain, the weather, and all the other conditions
Yes.
can be like.
Yes, of course. So I can add a lot of pointers of, the hydration, what is it is going to be, what kind of drink they are giving, what intervals they are going to give. So all these pointers I can add more to my trainees now with respect to these world majors when I train them. So there are a lot of them who have already done a lot of majors alongside me. So there were many of them in Chicago and New York and Tokyo along with me. So those who have done these races. So I feel that okay, it's a lot easier for me because I have done it now, so I can guide them even more better in terms of my experience, the overall experience, including the logistics and everything. I can give them a better approach regarding this.
Brilliant. Vikram, again, on the other side of the spectrum, you train with Ashok Nath, basically. And he has a slightly different approach, if you will, basically, compared to what Deepa and Coach Shas have. So, why don't you talk us through? And you signed up with them halfway through your 6 star journey. So, you want to talk about that experience as also your experience with whoever you were coaching with before that as well.
So all my running journey, I mean, like I started running for a finisher T-shirt, and while I was actually checking pictures of the PCS, and I saw one of the picture. Somebody had commented, I hope you are safe of what happened in the Boston Marathon," and that was Ashok Nath's picture, who had run a sub 3 in the year 2012 or 13, whenever the bomb blast had happened. And
13.
I got in touch with him. I mean, thanks to social media, I got in touch with him. And that time he was actually not mentoring anyone, so he actually put me in touch with one of the fastest runners group in Bangalore, trained by Kotanda Pani, and commonly known as Pani. So I actually have to say, like, I learned a lot of discipline, like waking up very early in the morning from Pani sir, because even though I used to like get up in the morning to skate, but it used to be like 6 o'clock or maybe 5:30. But here you actually have to get up way early. So that actually helped me training under Pani sir. But then, because all the four majors which I've done before I shifted to Ashok Nath, always had this thing like, you know, I could have done better, and I think I need to find a person who actually customizes. It's not like one plan works for all. So uh, uh, what the best thing about Ashok Nath is, like, he keeps an account of your lifestyle, your time. Would you actually have time to workouts? And he would also check if you're actually deficient in any vitamins. So he will actually tell you to do a thorough blood test. Until then, he would not even give you any plan. So he would, it's not like you go to him, you know what, I wanted to do this 255 or a sub 3. He would not give you. So he would know your background and your present state.
Mm.
And even though I was running like 3 or 4, or maybe max was like 5, even that day, I mean, like, it used to be like 20. It used to be a good mileage, but it used to not be like in. We used to have like three different sessions in just that one day. Like in the morning itself, you would divide. There would be a different segment of running
Ah,
at different paces
okay.
to help you in marathon. Yeah.
Interesting. Hmm. So that's really nice. There are so many different approaches, and I think this is what we wanted to highlight here. For those of you for whom these names may not sound very familiar, we will again be putting out their profiles on the show notes. It's a good time to jump into the rapid fire again. So here we go. This time we'll again go. I think this time we'll go Deepa, Vikram first, and then Deepa first, and somewhere midway we'll change the order again. So Vikram, your favorite among the six, your favorite race among the six races,
Boston.
Boston, and Deepa, yours.
New York.
It's interesting, your least favorite among the six, Vikram.
Chicago.
Okay, and we know why. Deepa, your least favorite.
Yeah, Chicago.
Chicago, we don't have anything up against you, basically, but it just so happens that, both of our guests had a not so good, memorable time over there. But anyway, okay, unfinished business among the six races, Vikram.
Chicago again. But I don't think I would go back again, because there's so many races in the world. There is Milano, there is Amsterdam, there is the Valencia Marathon. So I would want to go there, explore, given the chance. So I would leave Chicago wherever it is.
Deepa, unfinished business.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really amazing that both of our answers match so much. Yeah, unfinished business is again Chicago, but yeah,
Uh,
I don't want to go back and then finish anything there. Let it be there.
okay. Your go to pair of shoes, Vikram, for the world majors.
Vaporfly 3.
Deepa, how about you?
It is A6 Metaspeed Sky.
Now, your go-to choice of nutrition, of course, energy drinks, you can't do much on the course. It is what it is. But in terms of gels, your go-to choice for nutrition in these races, Vikram.
I think it's been Morton. I
Mm-hmm.
as soon as I shifted to Morton, I think before I think very start of my running journey, it was Power Bar Gel.
Uh-huh.
I think it's
Interesting.
still
Okay.
popular among a lot of runners, but it was Shreyas Karnad. I mean, Deepa's coach was the person who suggested me to Morton, and from the time I uh, tried Morton, there's no go back with anything else.
Okay. So you feel it works the best for you, basically.
Yeah, it's very good on your stomach, and I think even people who haven't tried it would
Mhm.
be good in actually trying it on the race.
Oh, you mean to say even on race day, basically, even though
Yes,
they wouldn't have
but
tried
I
it
would
out.
still tell them to try it on a day or before or on a training run, because again, I would definitely want to say that never try anything new on race day. But Morton is so good that it is light on your tummy that you would not have problem even if you try it on the race day.
Brilliant. Okay. What about you, Deepa?
Yeah, same with me, Morton. And in fact, the first time I tried Morton gel was in Tata Steel Kolkata race,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and it
Okay.
helped.
Okay, lovely. So, and one more question to you, right? When is Shreyas picking up the India distributorship for Martin Gel? He seems to be suggesting it to everybody, but the biggest problem is you don't find Martin gels in India actually. So, if Shreyas can, add that also to his line of business, he'll do a big favor on all of us basically. So,
The
is there any plans?
distributor here is Vikram Vijay. You should ask him.
You know, I think it'll unlikely happen because Morton buying even in US is expensive. I mean, why people uh use them only for races? It's very expensive. It's the most expensive gel. So
True, true.
since we are in India, there's a lot of custom duty and your free charges, so it doesn't work out for Morton to be sold in India. If it's sold, there'll be very less buyers.
Absolutely. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. True that. True. Factoring all the costs. Yeah. Okay. So let's move on. Now I'm going to switch to Deepa first and Vikram later. A Hyatt slash Hilton or an Airbnb, Deepa.
Oh, Airbnb.
Vikram, how about you? I'll add one more option there. HI.
I would definitely want to stay in Hosteling International, but any hostel in that case where you get to socialize with a lot of runners, you get motivated, inspired. I think when I traveled to Chicago, I did stay couple of days before I was staying in a tour operator's accommodation. There was this runner who had already run six majors, and she was in Australia. She was from Australia, and I'm still in touch with her. And you get to learn a lot of things just meeting a lot of runners. And this time I had a runner who had done five majors in a year, and he was a
Wow.
57-year-old
Oh,
guy
wow.
from New Zealand.
Wow. Very
So I
interesting.
would definitely, I mean, staying in a Hilton, it's luxury. You get good sleep, especially the day before the race. But hostel is what I would want to go.
Brilliant. And I think our listeners will really benefit from this. Okay. And the night before the race, is it a pasta or a dal chawal for you, Deepa?
It's always dal chawal or khichdi, something related to rice.
Something related to rice. Okay. I'm going to slightly twist this for you, Vikram. Pasta or chipotle rice bowl the night before the rice, the night before the race, rather. Sorry.
Pasta.
Okay. And on the morning of the race, oats or bread with peanut butter, um, Deepa, peanut butter or whatever it
Oats.
is, your choice of topping.
Yeah, oats is really good. It's working out really well.
Okay, nice. And what about you, Vikram?
Yeah, overnight oats with chia seeds, with nuts, with more nuts, and a pinch of honey.
Okay, nice. Now that we're done with this, we come to the last segment of the show. We have two big questions here. The first question, before we shift the spotlight back on you, is your support system, right? I mean, a lot of us look at the runner, the athlete, and their performances, but a lot of us don't, get to know the support system behind which has to make the adjustments and the sacrifices so that you guys can go and achieve your goals. So Deepa, you want to take a moment to talk us through your support system in this 6 star journey.
Well, yeah. See, even though running is, by large done alone, it's a lonely sport, but it is according to me, it's a team sport because you need a lot of support from your family and friends and your running community. So without them, I wouldn't have achieved what I have done today. So, in every step of my marathon journey, first of all, my husband, so he has been really supportive. My husband, my family, they have been really supportive. They have never questioned that, okay, why am I going for this run? Why am I going for this marathon? Where am I traveling? So, they never questioned, they never stopped. They always supported, okay, where do you want to go? And even this Chicago and New York was a tough decision for me that it has to be like a month long trip, but my husband immediately supported that. Yeah, please go ahead because this is what you've been dreaming for, doing a back to back marathon once again, so you should go ahead. And he would take care of everything at home. So that's the kind of support because you don't have that stress that, okay, what would my family members would say, right? So, and my friends, of course, they take a lot of credit for what I have done today because they are there every time. May it be my training days, because my training days are different because I have classes on the other days. So my friends, Siddharth or Manju sir or Coach Shreyas. So they would always adjust their training runs so that they can, be with me, and then they can pace me in my training runs. So that's the kind of support I always get. And even if it is the post runs, everybody coming and supporting, celebrating. So that's really amazing. And one more point is, I have so many friends, and then they are like a family. And for most of the world majors, they have arranged the accommodation in their friends' places as well. So yeah, it's like, when you go to a different country, and then you have somebody you get to stay in somebody's house, with their family. This is such an amazing experience. In New York, I stayed for 2 weeks in Manhattan, at one of our trainees' place, with his family. It was like a mind blowing experience. How they took care of me throughout the stay. So I would say that, the entire credit goes to my family and friends, for achieving this 6 star. Otherwise, I would have lost somewhere.
Okay, okay. Very interesting. Yeah. Vikram, family and circle of friends, you agree with that? You want to add on to that? Speak us
Oh
through your
yeah,
experience.
definitely, definitely. I mean, like my dad, especially. I mean, like my both my dad and mom have been very very supportive. Like my roots comes from skating, so like all the funds in India goes to cricket. Like most even don't know that skating is a sport, right? So
Mm,
even though I have been to like 4 world championships and 3 Asian championships from 2004 to 2014, it has been self-funded. And
mm,
had it not been my dad, I don't think I would be even representing India, or I would experience that. So I'm actually blessed to have him. And I mean, fast forward to 5 years, my wife has been like very very supportive. And even the day post our marriage, I went to run, and she know how crazy I am. And what I do is like, for every race I would want to enroll or have in my mind, I would go to her and tell first, so that she's okay with that. Or else we don't want to have. I want to have like good sleep just before a run.
Interesting, interesting. Nice to know that the families are also equally supportive, and I'm sure there must be moments when this can become a bone of contention also. But by and large, whatever you see in terms of what these guys have achieved, I think the family and the support systems have a very large role to play in enabling them to go out and achieve what they've achieved. Which kind of brings us to the absolute last spectrum or segment of this show. The most memorable moment for each one of you in this 6 star journey, and Deepa will go with you first. I'm sure there are many moments, and I know it's not fair on my part to ask this question, but I must. So the most memorable moment in this journey so far, if you had to pick one.
Yeah, of course. I mean, every race has, a lot of beautiful memories. But one of them that I would want to pick out is, finish line at the New York City Marathon, where I could meet Meb Keflezgi, who is my, running idol. And I could meet him at the finish line, and then he handed me the medal with an appreciation speech. That was really really fantastic experience for me. I mean, you could see, I mean, I posted a video. You could see, how happy I was, when I met him. And it was really humbling experience to meet, that he's an Olympian. He's been a winner in New York and Boston marathons. But still, when I met his brother, and then when his brother called him that, okay, Meb, can you come here for 2 minutes? And then he immediately came, and then he recognized, both of them recognized me, that, okay,
Oh
met in
wow.
Mumbai, and we met in Boston last year. And then both of them recognized and congratulated, handed the medal, and then wished for the, future. So that was the most amazing moment for me. I can never forget.
Okay, speak of fairy tale endings, actually.
And I
And
also did 10 push-ups for Meb at the finish line
oh, okay, okay.
because he's been doing that for, I mean, after his marathons, after
Oh,
he
yeah,
ran
yeah, yeah.
marathons.
Oh, I
So,
remember that. Right, right,
yeah,
right, right. I
so
think he
I,
did it at the end of the Rio Olympics as well. When he finished, he
yes,
almost slipped, and then he somehow
right,
managed and did that. Interesting, interesting. Nice, nice, beautiful. That's really a fairy tale ending to this. To your 6 star journey.
right.
What better way to end it, actually? Vikram, how about you?
It's really difficult. I mean, like, I'm just not copying Deepa's answer, but it's really very difficult to like choose one moment because I would say my marathon major journey was like a film. Like, it started out with Boston, like qualifying for it and just missing the sub three, and then running Berlin Marathon, and skating the previous day, and running I mean, like, running on the rain, I mean, London, because the full marathon was like full of rain. I mean, running marathon in the rain, and Tokyo running with Vijay Raghavan, and Chicago I was injured, and I mean, it was like climax. New York was like climax, and I've always heard that and read that New York is the hardest one and the most difficult one. It was a dream come true for me to like run a sub 3 in New York and meet Deepa at the finish line and collecting our 6 star finisher medals.
Oh yeah, that was a brilliant photo, and that's a nice story as well, where both of you had agreed that you would wait for each other at the 6 star medal tent, and I think that was one of the photos, and we'll definitely will make it sure to share it as part of our this podcast. I think that's a very cute picture where both of them pose with their respective 6 stars. Speaking of posing with the 6 stars, why don't you guys do that right now? Why don't you show it to the audience how that 6 star looks, basically, right? There you go,
I want me to do
guys.
one, two, and three. Okay, I'll do it.
Okay, let's do one, two, three. Show it. Yep.
Because of my face size.
Guys, that's a lot of blood, sweat, toil, of course money, sacrifices that eventually results in those medals. And
Right.
like what we want to tell you, and I think we've highlighted this before in the conversation, it's incredible consistency. Their approaches might have been different, but the end result, we take nothing away from the end result, basically. So I think this is a great place to end. Thank you so much, Deepa and Vikram, for sharing some really, really incredible insights. I'm sure all of us are going to benefit from these sharings. And I'll also like to take this moment to thank our team, Arvind, who handles the tech behind all this wonderful content that we put out over there. Aditi, whose idea this actually was, the day the New York Marathon finished, and our friends here had even crossed the finish line. Aditi said, boy, we should really get these two in and pick up on their brains about their journey. So Aditi, this one's for you. And our and Kartik Nadar, who forms who kind of completes this team. So thank you so much. The Indian running season is just upon us. Races, the big ones are just coming, starting this weekend. You have Ahmedabad, you have Malnad, and then right until February you have one race or the other, basically.
Delhi.
Yeah, Mumbai, Delhi. Yeah, so stay tuned. Uh, Keep running and keep inspiring us. Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Kartik. Thank you, Arvind. And thank you, Aditi. And thank you, Geeks on Feet, for having us share our insights. It was, I felt like we were reliving those moments of last 3 years by sharing them. And thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you so
Okay.
much, Kartik. Thank you so much, Arvind. And thanks, Geeks on Feet, for giving this fantastic opportunity.